Alabama has been at a crossroads. We have been at crossroads in the past, and unfortunately, we have usually taken the wrong fork. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you took the right road.
There you go. Democrat Doug Jones declaring a surprise victory in Alabama as his embattled opponent Roy Moore refuses to concede. Republicans now down a seat in the Senate. So how will this impact the president's agenda? Here now to weigh in is political analyst with Media DC, Ron Meyer. Ron, thank you for joining us once again. We appreciate it.
Good morning, Heather.
So big night in Alabama. What does this mean for the Republican agenda? Let's begin there moving forward.
Well, we know that we don't think Doug Jones is going to be sworn in until the beginning of next year. So we have the Republicans would have at least a month to pass tax reform. And so, but even if they don't, I think Doug Jones will be compelled to have to look at voting for these sorts of things. If you look at someone like a Manchin from West Virginia, a Heitkamp from North Dakota, they're really hurting themselves by not being bipartisan, by not voting with Republicans ever, especially on things like tax reform. And so he's basically, Doug Jones is a dead man walking in 2020 unless he works with Republicans. And so, in fact, the Trump agenda may not be dead. It's just he's going to, I think Doug Jones is actually going to have to work with the Trump agenda with Republicans in order to get anything done. And I think that's frankly a good thing to actually have some bipartisanship up here on the Hill.
Well, Republicans could only lose 2 votes before. Now they can only lose 1. Is there one specific area that you think is more important for Jones to come on board than others?
Well, I mean, there's some areas that make a lot of sense, like infrastructure. Jones ran on infrastructure, so Trump shouldn't lose a vote on the infrastructure bill that he's working on. When you look at issues like health care reform, Alabama is having terrible troubles with their health care system, and so there should be some room for some significant bipartisanship that still works with the Trump agenda, and Jones has to get on board, or he's not going to have any chance at 2020. And my only question is, does he just give up on 2020 and just be who he wants to be, which is a more left-of-center person than what he ran as?
And what do you think this means for, like, the midterm elections moving forward? Because, as you know, the president tweeted, it never ends. There's another election coming soon.
It never ends, but Republicans do have to learn a lesson. Yes, Roy Moore was a terribly flawed candidate. Yes, Republicans didn't show up because of his allegations, because of his other problems. But you also have to remember, Democrats, if you look at the turnout, were ultra-energized. Places where in the highly Democratic areas turned out higher than ever before. People who didn't approve of the president turned out much higher propensities than anybody else. And
over 22,000 write-in votes.
And over 22,000 write-in votes. So any Republican would have won. But here's the issue. Democrats are very energized. If Republicans don't learn from that, we're going to have real big issues in 2018.
Ron, I want to move you forward to this one. Another big story today. These brand new anti-Trump text messages between the ex-FBI Mueller team members. They were the one was taken off, struck, has now been moved to Human Resources or something like that. Obviously anti-Trump, to say the very least. Some of these we can't even share. We're showing some of the people at home some of those text messages. What do you think about this?
It's really undermining people's belief in government and people's belief in the American system. I mean, we've heard President Trump say crazy things about the investigation, like you shouldn't believe it, it's a farce. And then when you see text messages like this, people start to believe that. And when you have the FBI and when you have a multi-million-dollar investigation being undermined like this, it really withers away people's trust in government and their faith in American institutions. And that is a sad thing. And so not only should these people be punished and should the probe be looked at, it's really sad when you have to investigate the investigators in America, and that's where we are. We need to investigate the investigators to get to the bottom of it, to see if this is actually a fair investigation. And the fact that
I don't know how it could be at this point. I mean,
I don't know how it could be either, and that's crazy.
Thank you so much, Ron. We appreciate you joining us. A lot to talk about today. Thank you.